Welcome to another episode of Love Living Local 315. We are your hosts, Scott and Kelly Greats. Today on the podcast, we are joined by Melquea Smith, a multi-award-winning children's book illustrator from Syracuse and the creative force behind Pretty Kitty Paintings. I like that. From spreading Black joy through vibrant illustrations to launching a game-changing Clipart subscription, Melquea is redefining what it means to tell stories through art. Now let's dive in, and we'll start with the absence of my wife. Kelly is not feeling well today, and I'm bummed. She's bummed. I was saying before we started, 25 years as a first grade teacher. She's all about children's books. She was so excited, and she's bummed she's not here. But you're here, and that's what's most important. So children's book illustration, right? How do you get into that? Like what in you said, this is what I want to do?
You know, it's so interesting because I feel like I've almost done it all in illustration. So, oh gosh. So I grew up on the internet basically, and I was on a lot of different art websites, conceptart.org, DeviantArt. And when I learned that you could actually make money through your art, it was a game changer. I was like, wait, how
old are you in that?
2011.
Okay, so you were young.
I was pretty young.
Yeah, okay.
11, 15.
Sure.
That whole, I was really young.
Yeah, like
really
junior high.
Yeah, super young online, just, learning through other artists that, you can actually do this. And I would draw like prolifically. I don't know what happened after 20 years. I'm like, oh God, this line doesn't work. Why does this one single line not work? But once I learned that you can actually make money online and actually have a career in artwork, that was pretty much it. I knew that was something that I wanted to do for the rest of my life. Getting into picture books. So children's books and publishing is so opaque. It's so hard to figure out, like, how do you get into an industry where there's not a lot of just information there to tell you, like, okay, this is how you do it.
It's almost like the secret society, right?
It is. And it's like, there's no one right way to get into it. You can get into picture books by partnering with an author and, illustrating their picture books, or, getting an agent and, them shopping your books around to publishers, or submitting directly to certain publishers that take unagented authors or illustrators. So it's, there's so much. There's so many different pathways, and that's like art and creativity in general. There's no one right way to get into the industry. But I'll talk a little bit about how I got into it.
Yeah.
So in 2019, I was taking an art class, or like an art business intensive. And my mentor basically forced me to pick one. I wanted to get into animation. I also wanted to get into illustration, but those are two completely different industries. And it's like saying you want to drive to two different cities at the same time. You kind of can't. So he was just like, pick one. And I'm not saying that you're not going to do it you won't do the other forever, but in order for this to work in the way that it will, like in the way that I'm teaching you, you have to pick one road. So I was nervous. I was terrified.
Sure.
I was like, oh God, I have to choose one. I don't know which one's the right option. I don't know. And I chose illustration. And I chose illustration for picture books because a lot of people said, hey, if you illustrate for children's books, it'll be so easy. You'll be able to, these kids will eat anything up. Just
people who weren't doing it were telling you this?
100%.
Yeah, everything's easy when it's not you.
Children's books. Yeah, it'll be fine. Well, it's not. It's not at all. I had to unlearn everything and relearn what the industry needs and what the industry desires for picture books. It's a completely different world than your illustration that you see on Instagram or comic art, or it's like a different flavor of a different meal, so to say. So I had to learn what's sequential storytelling. And sequential storytelling is basically being able to tell a story in multiple images or even in one image through just straight illustration. Being able to have someone look at your art and say, I wonder what's going on here, or I wonder what's happening next, or why is this child sad, or why are these different items on the floor of a bedroom, or what can you tell me about this child if you illustrate them in their bedroom? What kind of things are inside their bedroom? Is there a bunch of astrophysicist stuff? Is there a bunch of books? Is there a bunch of toys everywhere? Which stuffed animal is on the bed and which stuffed animal is not, like all of those little details can be found in children's book illustration. And once the way that I started it was, first saying I'm a children's book illustrator. You have to own it first. You have to own it.
Which, sounds like it's not a big deal as we talk about it right now, but that probably was for you, right? Like you're going out there and stating your identity.
Yeah.
Which you, in a world you weren't sure.
Yes. Yeah. And that's the hardest thing for anyone that's in a state of transition or in a state of something that they want to do, actually owning it and saying it and putting words into it. That's so powerful. And that's exactly that's the first step of getting in the industry. Yeah. The second step is learning. You have to learn about the industry. There's a lot of different organizations and groups and local groups as well that's filled with a bunch of authors and illustrators in the children's book world. And once you start getting yourself into that, both online and in physical if you can, but once you start getting into that, then you start learning the lingo, learning the language, learning, what is the industry's terms, what's industry standard. And then you start getting opportunities such as, applying for mentorships or applying for different things. And then you start learning or writing or drawing. And the more, once you're rooted in that community, it'll take its form.
But it takes time.
It takes a lot of time.
And how long did it take for you to kind of break through, if you will?
Yeah, so 2019 was when I started taking my class. 2020 was my first children's book, but I've been doing art my entire life. I have been drawing ever since I came out of the womb.
Well, it's in your DNA.
Yeah. I feel like I physically cannot exist in this world without creating. And that is something that is...
It's awesome to know, though.
Yeah.
You're a young woman. And some people go their whole lives without knowing what's my passion, what's my purpose. They can't answer that question. Like, you've known it.
Yeah.
What a blessing.
Yeah. It is a blessing for sure.
Talk about the author.
Okay.
Right? So this... I'd imagine, like I guess, how much goes into that? Because you're taking the author's words and bringing them to life through picture. And so, what is that relationship between you and the author when you're illustrating?
So it depends. There's usually two different routes that you can go in making a book. The self-published route, which is an author decides, I want to write a story and I want to publish it on my own. And then the traditional publishing route, which is like that's the whole, like when you say publishing industry, like that kind of stuff, like the vehicle, the engine of it. In the traditional route, the author and the illustrator usually don't talk.
Okay.
So there's two people that usually almost like, I don't know what to call it, like a champion, the person that you work with. If you're an author, you work with an editor. And if you're an illustrator, sometimes you'll work with an acquiring editor, but most likely you'll be working with the art director. The art director is the person that kind of knows the art speak, can kind of translate, like if finance or marketing has notes on a book cover, they'll have all these different notes and they funnel all of that information or all that feedback into the art director. And the art director tells that to the illustrator. Okay. And so one, that helps because like editing by committee is probably going to be one of the most frustrating things ever. So it's nice to have one point of contact and one person to talk to.
So that's interesting. So I thought it would be you would need some sort of symbiotic relationship where you and the author kind of talk through things and how they saw something. So
yeah,
is it true? Like you typically don't even meet the author?
No.
Okay.
Usually that's not how it works, at least in traditional publishing. And self-publishing, self-publishing is it's a different.
There are no rules.
Not really. As long as there's a good story and a good book and good characters and the kids love it.
It doesn't even need to be good. You know, the dirty little secret to self-publishing is if you have a credit card and some time, anyone can.
I don't want to be slight, but I could say the same about traditional publishing too. But,
well, so I've done both, and you're right. And in traditional publishing, we won't go down this rabbit hole, but I'll just agree with you and say that it's a business.
It is,
and it's not how good of a book can you put out; it's how many can you sell.
Yes, 100%.
And that's why they call it a bestsellers list, not a best writers list.
Right.
So, yeah. What do you personally though, as an artist? Mm-hmm. Are you choosy? Like, yeah. So you're not gonna like. Have you read things and been like, I'm not doing that?
Yeah. So when a working artist or working creative or heck even any 1099 contractor employee will have their set of rules of like, where am I in life? What bills are due?
Well, yeah.
What bills are due and how much time do I have?
There's a necessity piece in there too, right?
A necessity piece. So, if you're doing this full time and you kind of need some income, you may, there's a couple of levers that you'll pull down and some that you'll pull up. And
I got standards until the rent's due.
Yeah, exactly. Like if a mortgage is knocking on the door, I'm like, oh boy, I don't want to default, So, but for the most part, I am. Yeah. And I've been in a lot of critique groups, and I've been in the industry about since 2020. So we're working on 6 years now. And I've read a lot of books, hundreds of books. Okay. I'm a part of my critique group for 4 years now. Oh my gosh, 5 years, actually almost 5 years with these really great authors, and we will meet every month and consistently every month, and we have manuscripts that we've written, and we'll critique each other's work. I've critiqued a lot of stories, and have read a lot of stories and studied a lot of stories. So if someone reaches out to me and says, I have a children's book idea and I would like to hire you, my first question would be, do you have a manuscript? Because I cannot illustrate an idea. Right. And I'm also dealing with that myself. I have a children's book idea, and my agent cannot shop my idea out. They need a manuscript and a book dummy.
Sure.
So I'm in the same boat. I read the story, read it over and over again. I decide, can I visualize like pictures through what the author has written? Did the author? These are all the questions that I ask myself too. Yeah. Did the author leave room for me to illustrate my own story? Because there's a little bit of a myth that the illustrator kind of brings the words to life. It's almost like a couple, or your traditional couple, where you've got two separate humans, and they come together and they form a unit of two people, and then that unit is something beautiful, so to say. And that's the same thing with like an author and an author's words and an illustrator's pictures. There's two different people and two different stories and two elements, and they put them together, and then they form what is a picture book. So it's, when there's a lot of room in the text for the illustrator to interpret, for the illustrator to bring some elements to life, when I'm reading through the story, that's really where I'm like, okay, yeah, I can see myself doing this. I also, if an author's story hits a couple of soft spots for me too, then I'm like, yeah, all right, that works for me. Anything like self-love, self-appreciation, expressing yourself, being authentic to yourself, financial literacy, healthy eating, or like, those types of living, like joyful living, like all of these things that, if that story focuses on that or features that, I'm like, oh yeah, okay, I can see myself working on that.
It makes sense. I mean,
Yeah.
you know, and just knowing you for 20 minutes now, you know, off camera, you were talking about working outside of illustration, like a regular, like 9 to 5 type job. And you were like, I don't know if I want to do that. Right. Like I want to be me and I don't fit into a lot of boxes in these job descriptions. And so the self-appreciation and just authenticity with you is amazing. And kudos to you for that. Let's stay there because we talked a little bit about money. Yeah. Which, you know, unfortunately makes the world go round. You know, but then artistic value. Yeah. And this is your passion. So how do you make those decisions? Let's talk about the money piece first, right? And so I'm guessing there's just upfront money in a deal, but then do you also get residuals based on how successful the book is? Okay.
So in traditional publishing, you get what is called an advance, and it's an advance against your royalties. And for our listeners who might not understand what that is, it's kind of like upfront money. This is almost like the publisher saying, this is how much we think that your book is going to be able to make, and hopefully it makes more. But the way that it works, especially in illustration, for the author, it's a little bit, I think it's different for the author. For the illustrator, it's a little different. So you can hear the strain in my voice because sometimes you're paid in 3 chunks. So let's say you get a book deal for what's divided by 3? $9,000, and that's on the low end. 9,000 should be on the low end, but we'll see. So you get a book deal for $9,000. Like, all right, let's do this. So you get $3,000 on signing, $3,000 when the sketches or the final like inks are done, and then $3,000. Now this is where I would talk to my agent and be like, hey friend, maybe we should not do this. But sometimes it's $3,000 on publication, or $3,000 when the final art is turned in and due. Right. And that can be about a year. Yeah. 18 months, 24 months. Like it could be a while before
IOU that just feels like it's never coming in.
Yeah. So in between that whole year, you have to make that $9,000 work, either by working on this book or working on other projects, or having savings and being financially literate, which is why financial literacy is such a big, like a piece of my heart now. And you have to make that work. And so that's the financial aspect of that. So, and then to wrap up the why I wouldn't do this. So on publication, a lot of things can happen in a year to a publishing house. We've already heard a lot of the mergers that are happening with like bigger publishers or smaller publishers closing their doors. So if they close their doors and I'm owed $3K, well, $3K is gone.
Yeah. And they have your work.
And my work's gone. Yeah. So it's like, what?
Yeah. That's awful.
Yeah. So ideally I would have it, either broken into 2 or broken into 3 where my final art is sent over and then I get my thing. And then after that, the book has to make $9,000 by it being sold, and then you get your royalties. And then and I feel like I know I'm missing a key part. Each book sale isn't, so you might look on the back of the book and you might say, oh, okay, this is $24.99 US or whatever. That's actually not that's not the sale that actually counts towards your advance. It's a portion of that. It's a lot of different.
Has to do with the cost of the printing of the book, and then
the publisher has to get their own bid. It's a lot.
You know who's brilliant? You know this, but for the audience, I've done a few different book deals, self-publishing and traditional. And who makes the most money on a book is Amazon. Jeff Bezos is brilliant, right? So if I sell a book on Amazon for $20, I get like $3, and Jeff Bezos gets like 10. Yeah. But we also don't have to stock them and pay for them in advance.
That's true.
He does everything on demand,
right? And look at the print on demand.
So so let's go full circle from money back to art.
Yeah.
When you look at a potential book, are you thinking business mind, like this thing has huge potential to make royalties, like be a ginormous book, or are you chasing your heart? You're like, hey, like this lights me up. I don't know if it will be mainstream, but I want to do this.
Yeah. So ideally, when I think of my career, I'm 31. So I've got, hopefully, I've got a lot of years coming up.
At least 70. You got to go triple digits. Right?
Yeah. So ideally, I want a ton of different books that spans a ton of different things. So that's the hope. Right now, I'm chasing my heart because I know that I still consider myself more a beginner in my career. I don't see myself as like a mid-career or a seasoned, person who's been doing this for like 10 years and 20 years and stuff like that. Like I'm not London Lad here, but
name dropping.
But I right now it's very much just like something that gets me excited because I've had a lot of friends who've worked on books, self-published or traditional, where they were just like, ugh, I don't want to work on this. And I have a neurosparkly brain over here. And if there's something that I do not want to work on or if something I don't want to do, it's going to be like pulling teeth. Yeah. And I don't want to do that. Not this early in my career.
Sure. Yeah. What about time? We're looking at a couple of your books here in front of us. Like on average, how long does that take start to finish?
Oh, okay. Let's see. This industry is very much a hurry up and wait industry.
Want everything immediately, and then it's like 3 months you don't hear anything.
Yeah. It's like you gotta hit this deadline. Okay, all right. We're not gonna hear back from you for a little bit, like 4 months. By the way, can you change this one thing for me 4 months later? These two books, The Biggest Gift of All and The Time Machine, I was working on them both at the same time. The Time Machine had a tighter deadline, so I think it was like 8 months. And I had to try to get an extension as much as I could because I was also working on The Biggest Gift of All, which took about 1.5 years, which is not really typical I wouldn't say it's not typical because I was also in a transition period as well. I had an old job and I was transitioning to a new job and working on those two books at the same time. I will not do that again. I'm not doing that again.
Life is just a whole series of trial and error.
Yeah. So it's very much to that point of like, yeah, all right, we're not going to do that again. But I try to give myself about 1 year.
Okay.
A year working on it. And I break it down into stages. There's, you start off with like the thumbnailing stage, which is these tiny, tiny little illustrations. They're like shapes. They're these scribbly doodles that you're just trying to figure out how the book looks as a whole. And then you blow it up a little bit and you try to get a little bit of rough sketches in. In the meantime, you're working on your characters. If it's a character-driven story, you're trying to get the character design. What would make, a character design that pops off the page? What's a good silhouette for the character? All of these different things, like all these different elements that work into like creating the book. Somewhere along the lines, you kind of figure out like, okay, we got to make this a little bit tighter. What's this in the background? What's that in the background? Oh, okay, this is a bedroom. Probably might have a bed in there. Got to learn how to draw a bed. All different things. And then there's color. So there's a color script stage where this is like animation tends to do this a lot, where they will create a whole color script for the story. And they use color to determine mood and to actually determine the story. Yeah. And once that happens for all 32 pages or 12, 13 spreads, then we start getting into like the inks. And that inks it's optional depending on the artist's style. Sometimes they'll go straight into painting. But for me, I do inks just to keep the character consistent. And that's just lines. And that's where I make the final decisions. Okay, these leaves look like this. This character's hair looks like this. Their eyes look like this. Like making like the final decisions of like each page. And then after that, I start getting into final art, which is my favorite part. I get to just turn my brain off and paint.
Sounds like a lot of work.
It is.
And it's funny because an idiot like me sits here. Your work is beautiful.
Thank you.
Thumbing through the books and, just an average person looks and it's like, oh, she drew it, right? Like, and then they hear like a year and all the detail. Give me some insider secrets.
Yeah.
Okay, so you mentioned the color impacting the mood.
Yeah.
Right, which I would, as I'm looking through that, it's emotionally connecting with me. I don't know why, subconsciously, but you're doing this to me, right? What else are you doing to the reader besides colors? Like, what are some things that you can be strategic and intentional about with your work that impacts people emotionally or psychologically without them maybe even realizing?
Well, artists are artists, musicians, writers. We're almost like these mind controllers. The way that you stage a page or stage your illustrations, you might notice a lot of characters face, to the right, to get the reader to turn the page. So there's a lot of these different techniques. One is called a page turn. So we break text a specific way to get the reader to want to turn the page. You might see, is it ellipses? Yeah, the dots. Yeah, ellipses. I should know this. Ellipses, that little M dash, just to get the reader to turn the page, to wonder what's next. Color is a big one. It impacts mood. It impacts how you feel. There's a lot of psychology in that. Yeah. If there's a really energetic piece, you might see a lot of yellows or reds or like bright colors. If a piece is moody and calming, and if you want to have like a bedtime story, you're going to see lots of blues and purples. Just something along those lines. If you're telling a story and you have two different characters, and one character is a little bit more reserved and the other character is more bright and poppy, you might have different colors based off of those characters, based off of what the page is about. Let's see. Character design, more... You'll see it in like Disney movies, or actually, honestly, just like any animated movies or things like that. Like usually the villain, or the big bad is usually like angular, like your Jafars, or you have like your parent type, or your mom that's like used with a lot of circles and round shapes, which I love. I love round circular shapes. It's just like my thing. There's so many different like tactics that you can use in illustration, even value, and the value, which is basically the use of darks and lights. If all the values are the same, so let's say you have a bunch of different items on a page and they're all the same kind of dark, or they're all the same kind of light, they will recede in the background. And if you put something light, that's called contrast. And you'll be able to like differentiate what is the thing that you're actually looking at a glance. Okay. So all of this stuff, stuff I've learned. It's awesome. Years.
Thank you for that. Yeah, I kind of nerd out on that stuff, because we cry at movies. Over people we don't know. We get excited when we hear a certain song. We don't even always know the lyrics, right? We look at artwork. One person will pay $3 million for it. The other person won't pay $3 for it, right? So what moves people emotionally? So thank you for your little insight. Anything, and you can tell me to strike this question, right? But is there anything specific to you that, so I think like Alfred Hitchcock, he made it a point, like he shows up somewhere in every single one of his movies. And sometimes it's just in the background, or sometimes there's a couple of people walking by and he's one of them, and so is there anything specific to you that we can find in each of your illustrations?
Right now, I'm trying to just infuse a little bit of myself into my characters. Okay. Just a little bit. Bailey, the main character in The Time Machine, she's very analytical. She's very much, in the story, she basically says the thing to her best friend, Nia, and that thing hurts Nia's feelings. And so she's trying to figure out how she can right her wrong by building a time machine and trying to unsay it. And I won't spoil the ending. You have to get the book to be able to see it. And I took parts of like my analytical side, a little bit of that neurospicy side too, where, you know, relationship building can be a little tougher, just a little bit tougher. Like being blunt and saying the thing can, you know, if you hurt your friend's feelings, you know, trying to work through that and build through that. And then Nia is her best friend, a little fashionista, took that little element from myself. There's like little elements of each character.
Yeah.
And then Tasha, which is the main character from The Biggest Gift of All, she's just this wackadoodle little kid. She's
The best kind.
Yeah. The best kind. Like sticks googly eyes on things and finds it hilarious. Super creative, sees the world in bright colors and rainbows, and that's just basically me. And I love illustrating like kids that are bigger, kids that are darker, kids that have braids and their natural hair, just to showcase them in books in a positive light.
Yeah, absolutely. That's awesome. I love your energy.
Thank you.
And you know, it's obvious why you're so good at what you do. Like you're passionate about this and certainly very skilled. Let's talk as we begin to wrap up here. I guess the elephant in every room, no matter what you do.
Yeah.
AI.
Oh.
Right. So is this a concern for you? That you can be replaced potentially by a machine, or can you not? Like, I don't know. Like, is it like, how much does this weigh on you?
So if I try to compartmentalize, because if I worry about this for, you know, if I let it, you know, seep into my brain and seep into my heart, then I can't write, I can't draw. It's interesting because folks have had AI generated books. The industry themselves, like publishing in general, we're very much like anti-AI in terms of like the creation of the books, creation of stories, illustration and writing. I have yet to read an AI generated book that I'm like, heck yeah, that's actually really nice. So the tricky part about AI is that it makes things feel like a bland sandwich. You know?
I call them ham sandwiches. I'm like, you know.
Not even with the salt. Not even salt cured.
It's just kind of boring.
Not even with seasoning. Like there's, you know, with stories and art and music, there's something that is human and intrinsic to our humanity through the stories that we tell.
Love that.
And that can't be replaced. One, because AI takes from things that's already existing, and a lot of things that are already existing is your status quo. So stories like mine aren't centered. Stories like, you know, Black and brown people aren't centered. So it's you know, you generate an image that if you generate an AI image, what's going to probably be seen is something that is, what's the word I'm trying to find? Not inclusive. There it is.
Okay.
Yeah, not inclusive. Like, so that's the tricky part when you're generating, you know, stories and things from AI. And then also with imagery, with AI imagery, that sequential illustration, that skill that I had to learn. Yeah. How do you tell a story in 32 pages? How do you make the character consistent in 32 pages? How do you make sure that the dog, that like if there's a dog in the background and you're telling like a little story with the dog, like those little things that is from a human's hand that can't be replicated in AI. You'll see it if you ever look at you know, buy a book off of Amazon and you see it and you're like, wow, that looks pretty Pixar style-y. I'm gonna get that book, you know, and then it's like you flip through it and you're like, okay, this looks kind of nice. And then you're like, why does this kid's eyes change? Why did that kid's hair change? Or your child might look at it and saying, where did the dog go? Why does this dog have, you know, 10 paws? You know, like it's getting better, I'd say, but it's not. And I'd say better in terms of like it's getting more consistent, but it's not there yet. And honestly, do I feel like it would replace me? No.
Okay.
I don't think so. I do think that,
Well, I hope not.
I hope not. Jeez. Like in these industries, I do feel like it's starting to just be shoved in our faces to the point where, like I was writing an email this morning and literally it was, a Gmail was like, type / help me write. And I'm like, no, I don't need help writing an email.
Right.
Like I want the other person who's a human on the other line to know that I a human, wrote that to you.
Imperfections and all, right?
Yeah.
That's what makes us us.
Yeah, like I want AI to like do my dishes. I don't
Yeah, bring that to the table, AI. Do my laundry, do my dishes.
Do my laundry,
walk the dog.
Yeah, that's fine. But
all my chores.
Yeah, all my chores, not my creativity. Like that's my whole livelihood.
That's great. Great answer. Let's talk real quick about what you're doing with Clipart, right? Because this is a membership subscription-based model that you've created to leverage the amazing work you do and monetize.
Yes. So calling all teachers, educators, authors, the folks who create pretty much anything. If you create social media posts, if you create graphics, if you create, things for your website and you want to include diverse imagery and you're looking for art and you're like, I like this, but I can't find any more diversity in the things that I want to input in my products or the things I want to create, join my membership.
Where do they find that?
My membership is on PrettyKittyPaintings.com/BSG for Brown Sugar Graphics.
Okay.
And it started off basically, I have a lot of author friends and they create school visit presentations and a lot of teacher friends who, create things for their classrooms. And they're like, I cannot find imagery of kids just existing that look like the kids in my classroom.
Yeah. Just wild.
Yeah. But it makes sense. It makes sense because no one asked that question of like, well, where is it? Why can't I?
Yeah.
And a lot of people don't realize that doesn't exist until they actually start looking for it. And so with basically my membership it's $9 a month. And every Tuesday, a new illustration will be delivered directly into your inbox. And I deliver it both in color and in black and white. So nice. I have members I have a member, Summer, who is a French instructor. And so when she teaches French to her kids, to her students, she'll use my illustrations in like scenarios to have them critically think. I have another member, Natasha, who is, she has a nonprofit dance organization. And so she uses my kids dancing collection for coloring sheets for her kiddos.
That's awesome.
And so it's really cool to like see them out in the wild. And I have another member, Sharnetta, who is a self-published children's book author who's awesome. Like she's really cool. And I love the stories that she's putting out into the world. And she uses my clip art to enhance her social media graphics. And so it's really cool to be able to have it feels like it checks so many boxes of spreading joy to a lot of people through their inbox. Yeah. You get a bunch of bills in the mail or bills in your inbox and spam, and here I am, this rainbow bright positivity in your inbox every Tuesday. It, encourages diversity. I had finished a collection of kids with pets. And I wanted to include as many Black kids interacting with pets as possible because people still think that Black people aren't good with pets or Black people.
Is that a thing?
Yeah.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, man.
So I'm going to be emailing my email audience about this soon. But my partner used to work at a pet store and he's a white guy. And so his supervisor randomly told him one day, I don't think I could ever hire a Black person. And he goes, what? Why? And she goes, they're not really good with pets. And I was just like, oh, wow.
Okay.
It's a thing. And it's interesting because that thought process and that mentality is just so ingrained in us that we don't question it. We don't question it until we're like, wait a minute, what?
Right.
You think about that and it's like, and that was the reason why she wouldn't hire people. Wouldn't hire Black folks to work at that. So that it just stemmed all in there. And then just that illustration right there of like a little boy and his puppy. little black boy and his dog, or a little black girl and her lizard. And actually, I have an illustration of a black girl and her snake.
Yeah.
Because these sort of things they're not shown. They're not shown.
Yeah.
And so I try to, with every illustration, I try to think, okay, well, what can I illustrate that can spread not necessarily awareness, but just like normalization.
But it is.
And celebrate.
Yeah. I love that normalization.
Yeah, normalization and celebration for sure. Yeah. Just like, yeah, I'm a cat mama. I've got 2 cats and they run the house.
Regardless of color, I don't get people that own reptiles. That's just a me. I don't know. Like I think a snake is not.
I think they're so cool. If I wasn't a cat girl, I think I would have been like a reptile girl.
Really?
I think so. They're really cool.
Yeah, we can never be roommates.
No, I just think the only thing that would give me the squickies is that I'd have to feed them bugs and. That I'm working on.
Or mice.
I don't
trust anything that can move that fast with no legs, or arms. It's just weird to me. But well, fastest 40 minutes ever. I mean, that flew by.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. We end all these with some rapid fire questions.
Yeah, let's do it.
Sometimes I do a good job. Sometimes I don't. I'll let you critique me. But I've got a bunch of them here, so let's do it. So, What's the last thing you illustrated that made you smile?
So right now I'm working on a collection, a Clipart collection for this month into February called All About Love. And I get to just explore different forms of love. And one thing that I really love is I illustrated this one kid, and they're a big kid. They're holding themselves and they're just like, just like giving themselves a big hug. And I was like, that looks really fun.
You weren't kidding when you said the self-love lights you up.
Yes,
the world needs more of it, too. It all starts with us. Favorite children's book growing up?
Oh, The Thingamajigs. I can't remember who wrote it, but it's called The Thingamajig Book of Manners. And it was one of the first books I remember reading as a kid.
Awesome. Pen, pencil, or digital brush?
All of it.
Okay.
All of it.
Can't pick one, huh? They like your babies. Most underrated part of the illustration process, or underappreciated?
Oh, gosh. You know what? Like trying to figure out anatomy. Like, why does this person's foot look this way? This leg looks backwards. I gotta, like, all of those parts.
I have an extremely gifted friend who studied art at Syracuse University.
Oh, yeah.
And he spent a whole year of his life on anatomy. And he said it was by far the hardest thing he's ever done.
And it's hard because if you draw people wrong, we'll know immediately. Because we see people all our life. Yeah. So if you find something and you're like, oh, that eye looks weird, or that nose is awkward, unless it's like intentional, then it all falls apart.
One color that you can't stop using.
Oh, purple.
Yeah. Your hair purple? My wife tells me I'm colorblind. Is
like
that
purple,
blue or
it's like a periwinkle.
I was gonna.
So it's in the.
I never would have guessed periwinkle.
What an artist!
I'm also not an artist.
What an artist answer, right?
Periwinkle.
Yeah. So it's in the purple. It's like blue, like icy blue purple. Yeah. Depends on the light. There's like.
I was gonna lead with that, but I'm like, I don't know if it's blue or purple. And I was thinking periwinkle. No, I wasn't. What's your dream illustration project?
Dream illustration.
Ooh, I want to answer this one for you, actually.
Oh yeah, answer for me.
If you're stuck, your book.
What?
Your book.
Oh, my book.
Right? You said you've been struggling with it. You want to get it out.
Yeah, that's right. My book. Yeah, my dream illustration project. I would love to go on a submission with I would love to be able to finish these 2 book dummies. I have 2 book ideas. One that's a lot more funny and wacky and zany, and I really want to just lean into the absurdity, and one that's really quiet, really emotional. Like all these different parts of me.
I'm going to be your coach right now.
Yeah.
Lean into the absurdity.
I have to.
Let's get crazy.
I'm trying to figure it out.
I feel like that's you.
Yeah.
Authentically you. One word to describe your art style.
Ooh. A lot of people tell me whimsical, so I'm just going to say whimsical.
Whimsical and periwinkle. 2 words that have never come up in our rapid fire. I like it. All right, last one. What's something most people misunderstand about children's books?
That it's easy.
Yeah. Amen.
No.
We were saying that before we started recording. And I'm like, how hard can it be? They're like, 6.
Like 500 words. Yeah, that's fine,
500
whatever.
words for 6-year-olds can't be that hard.
Yeah, right? Like, whatever. No, there's a reason why there's gatekeepers in this industry. I see it now. I understand. It's not easy writing. First, you have to learn how to write a story. You have to storytell. That's the first step. And then you have to make sure that the story is not necessarily easy, but just concise.
Yeah.
Concise enough in that those 500
words. Like that's
crazy. If you're lucky. I've been doing picture book studies. So I've been reading like 50. I've been taking out like 50 children's books a week. My local library, they love me. They're like, oh, I get to see all the pretty books that you take out. And so I'll speed read it. I'm like, I'll put it on the side. I'm like, this confuses me. Or this book I like. And I've realized the books I really like have a lot more sparse text. And there are stories, there are wordless picture books, and there are books, like full stories that have been written in like 185 words.
Yeah, it's amazing. Mark Twain once said, if I had more time, I would have written a shorter note. And it is fascinating how difficult it is to do everything you just mentioned in this short little window.
185 words.
And then you do something that is probably even harder. Like you bring it to life visually.
Yeah.
And you do it at a high level. So Pretty Kitty Paintings. I love that name. Melquea Smith. This has been a lot of fun.
Thank you. This was
Thanks
so
for making
fun.
the trip in.
Thank you.
Best of luck in the future. I want to be the first to buy your book.
Yay.
Get it out there. And I want it to be wild.
Yay. Thank you
200
so much.
words.
Honestly, I'm thinking about just making the text as short as possible. Who knows? There's less editing.